Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Natalie. We have finished a Kindred's Curse Saga. I am so sad to be done with it and I cannot wait for Burn of the Everflame. I think I'm just going to start with Spark of the Everflame. I feel like in the series there's so much different things to be able to unpack. It's just super interesting, so gonna get into it. I just cannot wait to talk about this. I have no one to talk about this to. I don't know anyone else who has read the series. Like, everyone needs to get into it ASAP. I've got my notes to help me along because there's so much quotes in this and different theories that I had while reading it that I want to get into, and I'll try to focus on just specifically Spark of the Everflame and not focusing on Glow of the Everflame or Heat of the Everflame, because obviously I have now completed those books. I was hooked from the beginning of Spark of the Everflame because it just gets right into it. We're not waiting ages to understand what the book's about or where the premise of the book is headed. Our heroine in the book is DM Bellator, and very shortly into the book her mother goes missing for 6 months, and DM wants to find out where is my mum at, like, for real. In order for DM to try to figure out where her mum is, she has to understand her mum's secrets, and her mum has a whole load of secrets that DM has to uncover to be able to get to the bottom of it. DM's aim is to protect her loved ones as her mortal life starts to entwine with the Descended, who she absolutely despises. And I just think it's really interesting. I feel like this book sort of covers like colonialism and like slavery, but in a different type of way without it being outright. But there's so much things within this book that I felt just links back to historical events in the real world that we are living in. I loved that aspect. It just reminded me of school. We get a real slow burn in this book between DM and Lufa, and I think that is my favourite part about it, just seeing that tension. And while DM may not be able to see it, I can see it, you can see it, and I live for it. The main point of this book is that there's a rebellion that is going. We're on the brink of war. We're seeing new people come into power and people adapting to that power that they get. We have DM. She lives with her mother Aurelie, her stepfather Andre, and her younger brother Teller. So like I said, we learn DM's mum goes missing literally within a couple pages of the book. But before she goes missing, DM is eavesdropping on her essentially in an alleyway and overhears her speaking with a descended male with a scar, shall I say, a descended male with a scar. We got that sexy man with a scar. He seems dangerous. But she hears her mum in the alley, and her mum is basically like threatening this descended man and blackmailing him. But she then gets distracted from being able to eavesdrop. Aurelie is DM's mum. We don't know much about her. Like I said, she goes missing immediately. She's missing for 6 months, but she has been missing before. Like, she's constantly will go and come back randomly. So that's all we sort of know about Aurelie. She's also a healer, which is what inspired DM to get into the, I'm gonna say healer's quadrant, even though it's not a quadrant here, that's 4th wing. But that's what inspired DM to become a healer, is knowing her mum was one, and her mum was a really good healer. She was also a healer for the Descended. Lufa was my man. I don't play about my Lufa, for real. He is the most loyal man I've ever read about. Lufa will be the heir to the throne. The way how it works is, well, I mean, this is anywhere, but the king is currently on his deathbed, and Lufa is predicted to be the next heir to the throne once he passes away. So naturally, because it's seen that Lufa will be the next heir to the throne, he's been raised like that. So he's not necessarily had fun. He's just been raised to be able to take on that next responsibility. But throughout the book, you just see throughout all the books, you see Lufa's like loyalty is just so strong, and he's just so great to the people that he loves and the people around him, and he just wants the best for them. You see his relationship with his little sister Lily, and it is the most cutest little brother-sister relationship as well. You've got Andre, her stepfather, and he was an army general. for the crown, I believe it is, and that is how he met Aurelie, who is DM's mother. He's super respected, but also to the mortals he can be seen as a sellout because he is helping the crowns. And sorry, I've got to say, you've got the Descended, who are like the powerful, and then you've got the mortals, who of course aren't powerful, and the Descended rule over everything but make the mortals' lives hell. So when there have been wars or rebellions, Andre has had to kill people from both sides for the war effort. We have Teller, DM's younger brother, super smart, and he actually gets to go to school amongst the Descended, so he gets to learn a lot more than if he went to a mortal school. And this was a deal that was struck by Aurelie, that she will continue to be a healer for the Descended as long as Teller gets to go to school. Teller was afforded this privilege, but DM was not, so we're gonna know why. I mean, if you're watching this, you've probably read it, but yeah, of course DM was not afforded that same privilege as Teller was. And Teller meets Princess Lily, who is Luther's younger sister, and he kind of got the hearts for her, which is obviously not allowed because mortals and Descended are not allowed to be together. You'd often have Descended use mortal women to get their pleasures out, but in terms of marrying, or if that woman has kids, there's progeny laws, which means that child will have to be killed because they just can't have that mixing, and they can't have the mortals weakening the Descended bloodline. I almost forgot Henry because I can't stand Henry, but this is DM's childhood friend, and we really get to see a side of him that you just won't like. But Henry is meant to be her betrothed, everyone's expecting them to get married, and he is also a part of the rebels, which are called the Guardians, which DM is unaware of. He really wants a lot of revenge on the Descended because they killed his mother, and he's also seen how heartless they are and how worthless they see a mortal's life. And we have Mora, who is also a healer, who is seen as like a grandma or like a maternal sort of figure for DM. Into the world building, because I actually just spoke about the characters, but the way how it works, I sort of had to get my head around it. We're based in Amarion or Amarion. That has 9 realms. Each of the 9 realms have different characteristics and different types of powers. Spark of the Everflame specifically is based in Lumnos City. Their power is light and shadows, and they have blue eyes, which is their characteristic. Mortals have brown eyes, and that's the mortals anywhere if they've not been banished from a particular realm. DM is mortal, and she has grey eyes and white hair, so she's completely different from the rest of the mortals. Of course, knowing that her characteristics are completely different from the mortals, I mean, there's some foreshadowing there, isn't it? Immediately when I read that, I said she is not a mortal girl. Like, there's no way DM is mortal. I think it's obvious that she's gonna have some type of power or something, because I mean, why would we have the book otherwise, you know? Either that or that she would turn into like Descended. But the fact that she had great eyes told me everything I need to know that she's not a mortal. She was raised a mortal, sorry, and her mother's story, or the story that she's always sort of told or believed even actually, is that she was born with brown eyes, then she suffered an illness, which is why her eyes turned grey, and she inherited that illness from her father. She has to take flame root to help with this illness, and she has to take it every day, and it would help with her temper. Like, if she doesn't take the flame root, she'd start to get really angry, or she'd see things like emotions, hormones, whatever, just all out of whack. So her mother has her taking this flame root to help this illness, essentially. How we got the 9 realms is that there were 9 siblings. There are 9 siblings called the Kindred, and they found themselves on the continent, and each of them sort of just decided, yeah, we've come to this continent and we're the rulers now. I don't know which world they living in, but this is what I'm saying, colonialism. Like, they just came and said, yeah, we're gonna rule over everyone here because we know what it is. But each of them ended up falling in love with a mortal, and of course the Descended, they live for a very long time. A mortal's life is a mortal's life. It's extremely short, and because of this love that they had for them, they bound their souls to the mortals, and that is the forging spell, and that's how we ended up with these 9 realms. The mortals aren't allowed to celebrate or worship these old gods because their idea was they wanted unity. They wanted the mortals and the descended to be able to live amongst each other in unity. Don't know why they thought that, because that was never going to happen. Like, if you've got people that are powerful, why would they live in unity with people who are less powerful that they can rule over and have whatever they wanted? I don't know. Only way is with Fortesian Steel to be able to actually capture them. So if you caught them in the heart, you could kill them, or with Godstone, which is like a poison that slowly and excruciatingly kills them. So back to what I was saying about the alleyway conversation that DM is eavesdropping on with her mum and Luther. I've already sort of got into that, so I'm not gonna go further, but we do have the old woman who stops her in her tracks when she's eavesdropping and starts to speak to her, and like just says to her about her eavesdropping, but also calls her daughter of the forgotten. Like, huh? Like, daughter of the forgotten? Like, what is that meant to mean? Of course, that when I read that, I was like, there's something that we need to uncover. When I knew that DM had grey eyes, I knew she wasn't mortal. When I heard that, I was like, whoever her father is someone that is clearly like a big type of person in this whole world, and I couldn't wait to get to the bottom of that. The woman who's speaking to her calls her daughter the forgotten, tells her to stop running from who she is, which is her being half descended that we know now, and tells her to stop taking that flame route that her mum is giving her, which essentially is her mum drugging her descended powers that she has because she is half mortal and half descended. DM eventually stops taking this flame route, and then her anger starts to flare up, like her emotions are flaring up, and we now know that as her godhood, which is just waiting to erupt all that energy and everything that she's feeling. She's at the like healing center helping out Mora, and then Elric, am I saying that right? Elric comes rushing in. He needs a healer because someone was showing their magic to kids in the palace of the descended, was showing them magic to kids in the palace and ended up causing harm by accident. So they needed a healer to come, so DM gets to go along. When DM is at the palace, she ends up treating Princess Lily, which is who her younger brother has a crush on. She's helping her, but then she does something. She realizes that one of Lily's bones is out of place, and she ends up healing it and fixing it, putting it back into place. And this is where she meets Luther again, the sexy guy with the scar from the alleyway, because obviously he is Princess Lily's brother. And when he sees her fix her arm into place, he's kind of like, when it needs to be done, he's saying that he will help her, like he'll do it, and she's like, no. Feels like he's undermining her and her abilities, but she's not meant to be able to do it. If she is mortal, she shouldn't be able to do it, because it's like fixing like iron or steel or something. Like, it's a very strong thing to be able to do. When Luther sees this, he asks her like, how did you do that? Because he's suspecting you're clearly not fully mortal. Luther is the enforcer of progeny laws, so he would know the difference between someone who's fully mortal or descended and mortal. But of course DM has no clue that she is descended, so when Luther asks her, it's just like babe, like I just done it, like what? Like, why would I not be able to do it? Get to the point where we see DM with Henry, and oh, I can't stand Henry. I wasn't able to stand Henry from when he was introduced. I think I saw her with Luther, I just immediately knew her and Luther were going to be a thing. So I didn't really want to hear about Henry. I don't give a heck about no Henry, for real. This accent, do I actually think I sound American when I say it? They end up sleeping together. Her heart doesn't even seem like it's in it when she's sleeping with him. It just seems like a little throwaway action to do. Henry's feeling it, she ain't. But she said something and it really stood out to me. But she said, I wondered how long I had until the fire in my soul burned me alive. Now I know there's 2 reasons for that, but also I just saw it as like, she has no fire for Henry. Like, no part of her yearns for him, or no part of her is like, oh, gimme when it comes to him. This is also where she sees that Henry has like a tattoo on the back of his neck of the Everflame, which is forbidden for them because again it's to do with the old gods, and they're not allowed to know about the old gods. They're not allowed to worship the old gods. It's essentially blasphemy and you could get killed on sight for it. And she's sort of ripping into him like, what are you doing? Like, why have you got that? Meanwhile, she's always blasphemy, you know, mentioning the old gods and saying rude things about them. So now she's all high and mighty, but like, yeah. When she sees this, Henry eventually mentions a bit about the Guardians, which is the rebel group. But he also mentions it as something that her mother, taught him. So anyway, after they sleep together, DM wakes up and she sort of walks off, and she's stood there and a wolf is ready to kill her, and she stopped taking the flame root. So she ends up using her powers to eradicate the wolf as the wolf is about to pounce on her. But she believes she's mortal, so she's just confused and is wondering if she's hallucinating. But then Henry eventually comes over and confirms that he also heard the wolf as well, which is why he rushed over. And she's just like, what? Like, she's just like confused, thinking she's delirious. And then after that, what keeps reinforcing that she has powers is that they end up crossing the borders, and when they cross this border, only DM has like a physical reaction to it or can feel something within that doesn't feel right, and Henry doesn't. And he just puts it down to, maybe it's just because you're a woman. Like, no, y'all, she got magic. And that's why when she's crossing borders between realms, she can feel that difference between. I don't know, there's just something not right about Henry. Like, he has a real hatred, but it's a bit scary, the hatred he has for the Descended. I think it's valid, but it can also be a bit scary because he can be a bit over the top. So anyway, after Henry tells DM about the Guardians, he tries to convince her to join because he's thinking, you're a healer, you can get into the palace, you can give us all this intel that we wouldn't be privy to. And she next has to go to the palace with Mora. This is just to check up on the children. The Gryphon, who is like bonded to the current crown, is like making so much noise and is so drawn to DM and stuff. And for me, I thought that was quite interesting because my notes are literally my genuine thoughts as I was reading, but I thought it was really interesting because I was like, there's something about her that other people or the Descended will be able to see that she can't. DM also is not scared of this Gryphon, like this big huge like dragon, shall we say, that's like coming towards her. Like, she does not have a fear. So it's quite interesting, whereas Mora is like cowering, like terrified of this damn Gryphon. When DM is actually in the castle, they of course have to get patted down, make sure they've got no weapons, and one of the guards is super inappropriate. Luther ends up seeing and like cuts that out immediately and uses his power against the guard, because the guard also goes to call DM a bitch. And Luther's like, nah, not on my watch, uses his power. But when Luther uses his power, DM feels like it's calling to her. Like, she literally describes it as like a siren call. And I said, girl, like, this guy is probably your mate and you have power. Like, I don't, like, for me, the alarm bells would be ringing. I would be like, this Gryphon is fine with me. That pull I felt when I was crossing the borders, his magic feels like it's calling to me. I would start to be thinking things, and I'd be like, this person said about flame root, how did they know I was taking flame root? There's just so much that I would have been like, what is going on? DM, delusional as ever, she said. Anyway, she's ignoring all these damn signs, let me tell you. Henry has tried to convince DM to join the Guardians, but there's a certain event that happens, which is DM's final straw, and she's like, I'm joining the Guardians, I'm not taking this no more. And this is when there's a Descended male that comes into Lumnos City, where the mortals are. He has had a child with a mortal woman, so he is there to kill that child and the woman probably as well. The woman is protecting her baby with all her life. DM also tries to help. DM hears a voice inside of her constantly saying fight, 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 so she sort of takes charge in a way, and she has a blade that's made of Fortesian steel. Like I said, that's the only thing that could cut a Descended, and she ends up cutting the Descended male with this. He strikes out his power to try to kill her and the child, and she's like covering the child, but she ends up building like a shield around them. But I think her covering the child ends up killing the child anyway, to be fair. The Descended male is sort of like, what the hell, like, why is my magic not working? It's either that or she's absorbing the magic, but he's shooting out his magic and it's just not working, and she's like, oh my gosh, it's missing me, it keeps missing me. The magic is not missing you, my love. Like, the magic is definitely hitting you, but your magic is doing more than his magic. But DM is so enraged that immediately she's like, Henry, I'm joining the Guardians. Like, I want in. For DM to be able to join the Guardians, she has to prove herself, and they sort of don't see her worthy of joining. They're also very skeptical of these great eyes of hers. And one of the guys says to her about it, and she's like, well, you can cut me to see that I do bleed, and he chooses not to. She's very lucky, because she would have got a real big surprise if he decided to cut her, because she is not fully mortal. She says that she's going to join the Guardians. There's all of a sudden a task that comes up of a child that's ill. This child was from the house of Bennett, and she was like poisoned essentially. So she had to go in to, under the guise of helping the child, but she had to steal some documents from Everflame, who is the leader of, or the king of House of Bennett, which is, I believe that's one of the smaller houses, one of the more like irrelevant type of houses, but we learn more about that in the second book. So when she goes in there, she helps the little girl, and she also gets to see how the Descended are treated, because while they're more powerful, it doesn't mean that everyone is nice to them. And I think it really shows that, yeah, they may have more power and they treat the mortals badly, but they're also treating one another badly as well. Like, some of them aren't, but some of them are. So it's like, how can you expect them to treat the mortals nicely when they can't even treat each other nicely? And she sees that with how Everflame is with his son, and she also sees it between Everflame's son and his daughter. So the son is really concerned about his little sister, and when DM admires that, all of a sudden he like puts up this shield, and it's like, just sort her out, and like walks off like he no longer cares. And it just sort of shows the dynamic between the Descended and how their powers play, that if you don't seem big and powerful, like, again, you're a nobody, in the same way they see the mortals, because there are some Descended that are a lot stronger than other Descended, and that sort of power play happens even amongst the strongest of them. So then after she does that, she ends up stealing documents that she needs to steal from the House of Bennett, and this is the most successful the Guardians have ever been with a task, is through her, and it still doesn't feel like it's enough to prove herself to them on their side of things. DM is really seeking approval. Like, it's like there's no self-love there, and I don't know, I think maybe that's because of, she may not see it here, but I think, knowing what I know, is that mixed heritage of hers, and sort of being conflicted on who to help, or the right from wrong on both sides of her family essentially. But also that because she's not just one thing, and you know, the mortals won't like her for being half Descended, and the Descended won't like her for being half mortal, it's like, well, where do I belong then? Because I'm a part of both groups. I'm so hungry and my belly is rumbling. I'm a part of both groups, but I'm not fully accepted by both groups. Or someone might fully accept me from the mortals, but another wouldn't. Or someone might accept me from the Descended, but another wouldn't. I think it like, and I think that really shows a lot in society. For example, someone who is mixed race, where, let's just do the most typical, if they have like a black parent and a white parent, that, say if they've got racist white family that won't accept them, but they are still white. Or you've got them on the black side, where like one drop rule, which I know is quite prevalent in America, where it's like you're just seen as black, but it's like, but I'm not, like, I'm also white. I feel like we see that struggle within her a lot in this book, and I just found it really interesting how it also compares to real life. So then we're back, DM is back at the palace, and this is where she's also on a mission. She's on a mission to be able to get the floor plan for, oh my gosh, floor plan for the Guardians. This is another mission that she ends up taking on when she goes to like their town hall meeting. But this time when she goes, she has like a real feeling towards Saray, which is that Gryphon that I was talking about that always belongs to the crown. And this is where I was like, she's Descended, and I know she is powerful, because the way Saray was around her, I was like, she ain't no regular Descended girl. I knew it was going to be a lot more. And it reminded me of Bryce from the Crescent City series, that she's like half human, half fae, but then she ends up being so powerful, and I just had a feeling that was going to be the case in this book as well. But when she sees Saray, she says, I had the strongest sensation that she wasn't just watching me, but sensing me, reading me. That spoke to me, child. I was like, you can feel it, because of course there's a bond between the Gryphon and the crown, and I was like, you can feel it. I was like, that flame root is actually such a help, because now you're starting to really sense the things. But either way, you know, DM, delusional as hell, she said, anyway, all of this, I'm still fully mortal. Like, she's just not real. Oh my gosh, in this as well we have like such a sexy quote, and it's to do with consent. It's between Luther and DM when he's patting her down to see if she's got any weapons, and he says, so he has his hands hovered in the air by her hips saying, may I? And she's like, now you ask. And he's like, I wouldn't want you to think I wasn't taught to ask for women's consent. And then a spark of challenge glittered in his eyes. You're not the only one who remembers our previous chat, they seem to say. Oh, I loved it. Oh my gosh, I've just noticed something. I'm not even going to say it, because I feel like I shouldn't say it here. I feel like I'll say that in the last book. But yeah, Luther ends up letting her keep a blade and just sort of hovers over it and leaves her with it. This is the first time DM sees King Ulthar, which is who Saray is bonded to. But when she's in the room amongst him, there's obviously all these like royal protocols that she has to follow. She ends up running out of the room to try and figure out the floor plan, and Luther ends up finding it. And guys, she's hiding behind a damn pillar. Like, DM please, like a little cylinder pillar she's hiding behind. I said she's skinny, but other than that, girl, please be for real. And Luther's sort of like, DM, come out wherever you are, sort of thing, and says like, don't let happen to you what happens to your mother, or something like that. But he mentions her mum, and that's what makes her think, right, okay, cool, because what do you know about my mum? When she's there, she ends up getting nicked by a knife by one of the guards, and the guard has to pay for it, because Luther is not happy about that, let me tell you. So she ends up with a cut. So when she goes back to the Guardians and she's failed the mission, they're sort of unimpressed, but she's like, I've literally been cut on the neck for this, and I've done this, that and the third. And they're like, so where's your cut? Her cut is gone, because she's descended. It has healed at a rapid rate, and they start to be a bit suspicious of her, as they should be, because she's got grey eyes, she's healing very fast. But in all of this, DM is still none the wiser that she is not mortal. So then eventually Henry is like, he's like enamored with her. Like, I think he's so impressed with everything that she's done, but he ends up asking her to marry him. And on the inside, she's got that voice again telling her to fight, fight, fight. Henry is not for this damn girl, okay? Henry is not her person at all, and her magic is letting her know this isn't correct. Like, you cannot be with this man. So DM ends up meeting Princess Lily, and they're just talking about when they first met. Lily lets it be known that Luther likes DM, maybe because DM challenges him, whereas nobody else does. And I just love that bit. But they also talk about the injuries healing a lot faster than they actually should have as well. DM also invites Princess Lily over for dinner. So when she is eventually at home, and now we're nearing the end of the book, but when she's at home and she's at dinner with Andre and Tella, so her stepfather and her younger brother, she's teasing Tella about his little crush on Lily and lets him know, like, I invite her over for dinner. And Andre's like, well, any friend of yours is a friend of ours, she can come over anytime. But he's unaware that she is descended and that she's the princess at that. It's really cute being able to see that sort of sibling, like, banter, teasing sort of thing as well, and just seeing her relationships with her family. While she's at dinner, she does also ask Andre, like, how did you know that Aurelie was the one, that her mum was the one? And he sort of reminisces on how he knew. Of course, where she had also given the information from House of Bennett, the Guardians had gone through and they had exploded up that city. Like, they went and they attacked. So when she hears this explosion, she knows immediately what it is, and she rushes out. Like, she feels an immense sense of guilt immediately and wants to rush out and help. She runs into the Guardians that are on their way back, and this is including Henry Vance, who is like the leader of them as well. and they're stopping her and not letting her go, and she's trying to say, oh, because I'm a healer, like it was just my immediate instinct to go to help. So she complies with them with going back, but then she escapes them and runs to the house of Bennett to help. Something that I've got to mention, the reason as well that really made DM want to join the Guardians is that Henry tells her that it's a woman who leads them, and like she's really powerful and she's really strong, that DM would really like her. When he said that, I was like, is it her mum? So when he said that, I thought, could it be her mum that he's talking about? Especially because when they're first in the woods before they sleep together, he mentions something that her mum taught him. So that sort of raised my alarm bells, and I thought, I don't think we'd know that if it wasn't going to come up later. And she goes to House of Bennett and she is begging Luther to let her help, and Luther's like, no. So then she sort of plays it against him and is like, so you're going to let a mortal, like you're going to let the descended suffer when you could let a mortal go in and try and save them? And she knows he has to let her in with that because he can't be seen putting a mortal's life above the descended. Yeah, she ends up helping saving the guards inside, and she helps, oh my gosh, what's his name? Because I actually love him. It begins with a P. I'm just going to call him Peter for the time being, but I don't think it's Peter. But when she's there, she has a vision that her and Luther both share, and they're like on a battlefield, like opposite facing each other, and she feels it and he feels it. After this, Luther ends up taking her to the palace, and this is where we meet lovely Eleanor, and she helps clean her up and helps her get situated because she's obviously gonna need healing after this as well. So when Luther takes her to the palace to have Eleanor help clean her up, Eleanor's sort of like, who is she to you? Because he's in such like a frenzy and he's so concerned about her that Eleanor's like, who is this? Like, who is this? Eleanor, by the way, is one of Luther's cousins. So I say that to say that when Eleanor's asking him that, he says, Eleanor, I think she, and then it gets cut off. She's what, Luther? You think she is what? And for me, I saw that as like, this must be his mate. Like, she has to be his mate. Why he is so like intensely like watching her, why he likes her so much, why he was not going to let her go into the burning palace to help the descended. While DM is healing and while DM's on that bed, Saray is like in this huge distress, and I think this is because the King Ulfa is nearing his time, and it's a hard time for the Gryvons when that happens before they're passed over to whoever is next, like heir to the throne. When Luther comes back, he's asking DM like, DM, are you hurt? Are you okay? And DM's sort of like, hurt from what? Like, I'm good. Again, it is that descended power kicking in, and Luther's sort of like, there's no way this girl actually thinks she's mortal. Like, he's just so confused at her delusion, essentially. She's at the palace. He asks DM to tend to the king. So she does, and when she's in there, he ends up leaving her alone and is like, can I trust you to leave you alone while you're in here? But that happens to be the moment that King Ulfa passes away. But he really spooks DM before he dies, because he gets this really old ancient voice and it just doesn't seem like it's him. As DM says the end of the Rite of Endings, a crackle of energy passed between them, a static shock that made every hair on my arm stand on end. The king's knobby fingers seized hers. No longer was he feeble and frail. His grip was an iron shackle that chained me at his side. His eyes float open, and then he's like to her, you finally come. And then he's like, they told me you would come for me. And she's like, who told you I'd come for you? Like, I did not know I was meant to be coming for you. And he said, they told, and this is important, they told me your blood would shatter our stone and lay waste to our borders. So she's trying to shush him. She's like, shh, 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 like, keep it down. But then the king says to her, I am not afraid, devourer of crowns, ravager of realms, herald of vengeance. So she's trying to say she'll get Luther, and then he's like, Luther, and then he's like blazing really bright, like this glow that he has. And then his voice comes out, like I said, ancient and female. Give him our gift, daughter of the forgotten. When the end has come and the blood has spilled, give our gift to my faithful heir and tell him this is my command. And then he dies. But when he dies, like, she's like terrified, and like her knife is out. It looks like she tried to kill the king, basically. Like, that is not good. But then we get a bit of a hot moment where DM's like leaving the palace and whatnot, and her and Luther have a tiny bit of an argument or like a disagreement. At this point, Luther is also really frustrated with her still thinking that she's mortal, because he just thinks she's lying rather than the fact that she truly has no clue that she is half descended. So she's got a knife to Luther, and like it's like they're basically threatening to kill each other sort of thing. But Luther says this quote, and it's actually just so lovely. But he says, every day I draw breath. No, he's like, you think I fear my own death? Every day I draw breath is as much a curse as a gift. I've been living on borrowed time for longer than you can imagine. If you're the way my fate finally catches up to me, I can't fathom a more beautiful end. Like, and then he's like, do it, he said again. Kill me if that's what you think I deserve. But if you do, give me one favour before I go. She's like, favour? He's like, let me die with a taste of you on my lips. Oh my god, I want that, man, so bad. I just love that, because it's like, this is what I've been waiting for. Like, I've been waiting for you two to get together, and they end up kissing, and DM sort of just leaves it with like, get that hole in the wall fixed, which is obviously information that she's passed to the Guardians, just to like, be careful, get that sorted. But then Luther does also say to her, when he said this, I said, I feel like the quote that I just said in this, I was like, there's more to Luther that we need to find out as well. But he says to her, you're no mortal than I am. This is after their sort of argument sort of thing where he calls her a liar, and he's like, you know, DM, he growled, I've spent a great deal of time thinking about you, wondering if you're the best liar I've ever met or the worst. I think I finally know the answer. The only person you're good at lying to is yourself. Again, because it's her being delusional. And then he's like to her, tell me you don't feel it. Look me in the eyes and tell me you don't feel my magic. And like I said at the beginning, she was able to feel it. It felt like a siren call to her. But again, that flame root and her mum drugging her really done a number on her. Like, she really believes that to be true. And Luther's fed up with it at the end of the day. But you're no more mortal than I am. Luther? What do you mean by that? DM is back in the mortal part. Henry tells DM what happens when the mortals go to Sophos, which is where they can go to study further for research and stuff. And it's that you never see them come back because they get killed when they're there. Their body are used for experiments. DM ends up in an argument with her father. He knows that she's not taking the flame route. He knows that she went and was with Luther because Luther sent a note to basically let him know that she's safe. And they have this big argument, and she runs out of the house, and then it's like her brain is like, ah. And that's because the king didn't die while she was there, sorry, but the king is now dead. The crown has passed to DM. DM is Queen of Lumnos. And even in that, guys, she's still bloody delusional. Even when the crown is on her head, like, tell her, no, DM, like, the crown is on your head, like, you really are the queen. She's like, no, I'm not, no, I'm not. And she like goes in the sea where she threw the flame root and is trying to find it, or the river. DM, you threw that away at the start of the book. It's not going to be there at the end of the book. But yeah, her delusion went on for that long. Her delusion went on for the whole book. Even with the crown on her head, she could not accept that she was half descended, and she is now the Queen of Lumnos. What a big task to take on her shoulders. And then we've got the epilogue, and the epilogue is Aurelie, which is her mother, and her mum knows that the crown has passed, and she of course thinks it's going to Luther, and she's like, finally I can return home. So whatever mission she was on, or wherever she was waiting for King Ulfar to pass away, but she's like, finally I can make it home. And I was really confused. I was like, does Aurelie, like, is Aurelie a bit descended as well, or like, does her backstory have something to do with them? Like, is she, and because DM keeps being called Daughter of the Forgotten, I'm just like, is she like, I don't know, I was confused. But that is basically how the story ends, and then we move on to Glow the Everflame. But thank you so much for watching. If you've read the book, please give me your opinions down below, your theories and your thoughts. I just loved this book so much, and I just thought it was so thought-provoking. But yeah, that's that. See you in the next one. Bye.